Welcome to Healthy Mama Hacks, a weekly mini podcast where I share my best tips for hacking your healthy mama life with simple tips for easier eating, cooking, and living a healthy mama life in 20 minutes or less. Let's do this, mama. Hey there, friends. Kristin here, and I've got something new for you. This is something I've been thinking about for a while, and what better time to kick off something new than at the start of the new year? Healthy Mama Hacks is a space to share all of the things that make my healthy mama life run more smoothly. The simple routines, tools, and tips I use to eat, cook, and live a healthy, balanced life, all in 20 minutes or less. These are episodes that don't feel quite long enough to make a full Monday episode, but are still powerful little tidbits to take into your weekend in between longer episodes to give you my best tips for living a healthier, happier, simpler mama life. So let's kick things off today by talking about my 5 favorite tools that make my mama life run more smooth and more balanced. Tool number 1 is my slow cooker. You guys, my slow cooker saves me at least once a week, every single week. And I know this is nothing new. This is a tool that most of you have, but are you actually using it? I know for me, doing a little bit of meal prep ahead of time at the beginning of the week is the number one thing that saves me and getting meals on the table throughout the week, but there's at least one night during the week where I am just not getting dinner on the table if it weren't for my slow cooker. So prepping the veggies or whatever protein ahead of time and getting it ready so I can just throw it in the slow cooker when we come home from dance class or I come home from a later night at work. I work at a co-working space down the street. So even though it's not very far, I will still sometimes work or work out right up until the co-work space closes. And then my kids are hungry by the time we get home. So having something in the slow cooker is really easy to come home and just serve it up and be able to sit down and enjoy a relaxing meal with my family instead of stressing out about getting home and then trying to get dinner on the table before bedtime. So that's the number one tool that makes my life easier, especially when it comes to getting meals on the table. My second tool is something completely different, has nothing to do with cooking at all, but my second favorite tool that makes my healthy mama life just a little bit more balanced is Audible. For those of you who don't know what Audible is an app for audiobooks. I am sure you've heard Audible ads and people talk about it before. There's also library apps that do the same thing, but I'm in love with Audible, and I love it because I can learn on the go. It's also why I love podcasts, but I find that podcasts tend to be a little bit more short and sweet, and they're certainly not as in-depth as reading an actual book. But as a busy mama, I don't have a lot of time to sit down and read a book. I love to read a fiction book before bed to kind of settle down and read something a little bit more mindless, or just, get captured into a mystery or something like that. But for nonfiction books especially, I love being able to listen on the go while I'm driving or doing work tasks that I don't need to really concentrate on, creating graphics for the podcast, things like that. So Audible has just made my healthy mama life so much easier and more balanced in that I can learn and grow as I'm just going through my everyday life. So I tend to read a lot of nonfiction, self-help, nutrition, wellness, habits, business, those type of books on Audible, and then have my fiction books be something that I spend $6 or $8 on a fun used fiction book on Amazon. So Audible is definitely a tool that I love. Tool number 3 is probably not going to come as much of a surprise because you all know how much I love Sarah Dalton from A Simply Big Life. We are actually kicking off our New Year's Simplify and Thrive Challenge today. So if you're listening to this in real time, you can still join us for free at healthybalancedmama.com/thrive. But she's been on the podcast twice. I love the work she does in the world to help women find more peace and productivity in their life. And I will will link those 2 episodes in the show notes, but I really wanted to shout her out here because her peace and productivity planner is everything my planner self wants and needs, and also everything my harried mom brain needs to get my ish organized in a really simple and strategic way. I love it so much. It has made planning my days so much more intentional. And before you tell me, oh, I just use a digital planner, I do too. I have always been a paper planner girl, but my husband and I use Google Calendar to stay on the same page and sync our calendars. And I also have my business planner on there as well with any of my client appointments or podcast schedules, all that jazz. But for my day-to-day, I really like using a paper planner. And what I love about the Peace and Productivity Planner is that she encourages you to start by defining your core values and work on aligning each one of your days with your core values and your vision for the life you want to live for peace as well as getting things done, hence peace and productivity. So it's not just a planner, but it's really a place for creating intention in your everyday. It's also a day-to-day planner. So there's a weekly overview and a monthly overview, and I use both of those as well. But I really like a day-to-day because I find that's where I can get really intentional with my time because I like to plan my days from like 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. I utilize time blocking to get all the things I need to get done from homeschool to podcast calls to my group coaching to anything else that I need to get done in my busy mama life. And it works really well with my time blocking. And what else I love about it is that it really helps me to hone in on my top tasks that I need to get done each day so I can focus on those tasks. So focus on the top 3 and then the next 3 if I have time to get those done after I get the top 3 done. And I can really focus on those things and put down the most important things first, get those accomplished, and let anything else go that doesn't fit into the day, which really helps my perfectionistic Enneagram self just kind of rest easy and be able to relax at the end of the day and really be present with my family. So that's a tool that's just really helped me feel more balanced overall in my mom life. So unless she stops making them, please don't, Sarah. I am a forever fan, so I really wanted to share that with you guys. And P.S., my Healthy Mama Meal Planner is a great complement to her planner as well if you want to get intentional about your meal planning. Tool number 4 is actually 2 tools together, and it piggybacks off of the Simply Big Life Planner, and that is my meal planner and my recipe binder. I know you guys have heard me talk about my meal planner before, but my meal planner is unique in that you can plan monthly or you can plan weekly, and there's also spots for doing regular freezer, pantry, and fridge inventories so that you are actually using the things you have on hand in order to create your meals for the week. So I'm staying on top of making sure we're eating the food in our fridge, we're avoiding food waste, and we're staying on top of our budget as well. So it not only makes my mama life easier to plan out my meals, so then therefore I can go to the grocery store and the grocery store is more smooth. The grocery shopping list template in the meal planner is organized by category, which is huge because it means that I'm not running back and forth throughout the store. I'm staying in one section at a time, getting everything I need, and then moving on to the next section. So grocery shopping is so much faster. I'm going to do a Healthy Mama Hacks episode in the future about efficient grocery shopping. And I'll also talk more about meal planning because I know you guys are interested in learning more about the different tips and tools I have around meal planning as well, because it is something I love to talk about. So stay tuned for those. Those are definitely coming. But my planner is really, really helpful for this. And I know it's a product that I created, but everything I created because it's something that I needed in the past, and that's something that I think will help other women moving forward in the future. It's oftentimes something that took me a long time to figure out, and now I can take that knowledge and pass it on to you, and the planner is a really good example of that. So if you're interested in the Healthy Mama Meal Planner, you can either get a digital version and print it out yourself, or you can get the printed version. It's just healthymamakris.com/meal planner. But there's no need to buy it yourself if you just want to implement some of the tools that I share when it comes to meal planning, where, it's about finding a meal planning style that works for you, grocery shopping in a way that's efficient. The meal planner is just a tool that's really, really helpful to me. And then the recipe binder is helpful to me as well, because even though I could store all of my recipes on Pinterest or on, Plan to Eat, which is my favorite online meal planning app for people who really like to do everything digitally. Plan to Eat is great. It's like $5 a month. It's really inexpensive and you can put all your recipes in there. That's what I use to create printable recipes. So I do utilize it. But I like having a place to store my go-to recipes, especially recipes for the season, categorized by meal categories. So whether that's bean-based meals or chicken-based meals or slow cooker meals, actually having those in a place, in a binder that I can bring into the kitchen with me. I have them all in plastic sleeves, so splashes and things like that aren't going to ruin my recipes. But it's a really great place to just have a one-stop shop for my recipes when I'm doing my meal planning each and every week. So that's why I think these two go together. It's not just me promoting my meal planner. I think it's great. I think really having a routine is more important than anything. But actually having my meal planner and my recipe binder means that meals happen really, really quick, or meal planning happens really, really quick in my house. And therefore, that just makes everything easier. Planning, grocery shopping, prepping, and getting meals on the table is so much easier when I have a routine around it. Tool number 5 is another kitchen appliance, but you guys, this saves me every single morning, and that is my blender. Most of you know that I start my day probably 5 days out of the week, most weeks, with a green smoothie. I use the Healthy Mama smoothie formula, which is super, super simple, you guys. It's just about a handful-ish fruit. I don't really measure. It's about a handful-ish fruit, about a handful-ish vegetables. Oftentimes I will do a vegetable as well as some greens as well, but this could be greens like spinach. I like doing frozen zucchini or squash, cauliflower rice. It adds some creaminess to it without adding extra fruit. I love fruit, but I don't want to add so much fruit that it's like a blood sugar spike and drop. So I add about a handful of fruit. So this could be berries or banana or anything that really seems good to me, but those are the ones that I tend to go to most often. So some sort of a fruit, some sort of a veggie, some sort of a healthy fat, which for me is more often than not almond butter, peanut butter, or sunflower butter. I don't stray from that a lot. Sometimes I'll go crazy and do some coconut butter. I don't love avocado in my smoothies. Sometimes I'll venture to avocado, but most often it's like almond butter or peanut butter, and that's just kind of my go-to. Sometimes I'll also put in a spoonful of flax seeds if I need it to hold me a little bit longer. That'll give me a little bit of extra fiber. Chia seeds are good too, but you do have to drink it right away. Otherwise, it will gel up. And then the last thing I use is some sort of a protein powder. So my protein powders change on a regular basis, whatever tastes good for me. So my current favorites are the TB12 protein powder, which is Tom Brady's protein powder. And it's a vegan pea protein powder, and it's delicious. And it's really good with my digestion. So that one's a current favorite. I also like the Thrive Market bone broth protein. Ancient Nutrition's another good brand of bone broth protein, but I find the Thrive Market one, I get it on auto ship. So it's just easy, and it's pretty inexpensive as well, as far as bone broth proteins go. But obviously, if you're vegetarian, bone broth protein doesn't work for you. So I really like the TB12, which is a vegan plant-based protein, which is good for a lot of people. I've heard a lot of people do really well with a plant-based pea protein. There's a lot of plant-based proteins that don't work well in my body in particular, just because of some of the digestive problems I've had, but pea protein seems to work pretty well. And so those are my favorites. And then I top it off with almond milk, cashew milk, whatever kind of milk I've got on hand, or sometimes water. I say top it off, but really, I start with the liquid. So I start with the liquid, and then I add the veggies and fruit, and then I top it with the protein powder and the nut butter. And then if I use any sort of seeds or anything like that, I add those on there too. And that's how it blends the most smoothly. So I use a Vitamix because that's what I love, and I've used for a decade now. You don't need anything that fancy to make a good smoothie. It's just about making sure that you're being patient with it and you're adding the liquid first. But having a smoothie in the morning is something that just simplifies my routine every single morning. And knowing that I just put the same things in, just with some variation, every single day, it's one less thing to think about. I know I'm nourishing myself first thing in the morning. I'm full and satisfied for at least a few hours. And it was something that I kind of struggled with in the early stages of my intuitive eating journey, where I felt like I shouldn't have the same thing for breakfast every morning because I had to really think about it and rely on my intuition every single morning. And it's not that I'm not relying on my intuition. It's just like in the morning, I don't want to think about what I want to have for breakfast. If I wake up in the morning and I really want something savory, then I will eat something savory. But 9 times out of 10, I want that smoothie because I know it tastes good, I know it's fast, and I will actually nourish myself on the way out the door or whatever we're doing for the day versus not, which is the alternative most days when they're busy mornings. So that is something that saves me every single day, every single week. And on the weekends, I don't drink smoothies because I typically want something different. By the end of the week, I'm ready to change it up. And so I will have either something savory or something sweet, depending on what sounds good for me. Sometimes I'll just have a perfect bar in the morning while I'm sipping my coffee and then have a bigger brunch later. Sometimes I'll have waffles with the family. Sometimes I will have an egg wrap from Starbucks. It changes every single week. But during the week, my blender saves me by giving me that really simple green smoothie in the morning that tastes good, nourishes me, fills me up every single morning. So those are the tools that right now are really saving my healthy mama life. My slow cooker, Audible, and I know that's not really saving me, but it's really just bringing in some education and helping me grow as I just go through my everyday life. My Simply Big Life planner, my meal planner and recipe binder, and my blender. These are the things that are making my healthy mama life just that much better. So I will put links to any of the things I mentioned in the show notes. I would love to hear the things that are saving your healthy mama life or just making your life easier or run more smoothly. If you are not a part of the Healthy Balance Mama Facebook community, I would love to have you join. The link is in the show notes. It's just facebook.com/group/healthybalancemamas. And I share podcast episodes weekly. I share my meal plan weekly. And it's a great place to connect with other Healthy Balance Mamas and share what you're getting out of the episodes and share other tips and tricks with each other as well. So I would love to have you join us over there. And I hope you all have a beautiful week. I'll be back on Monday for a full episode and back next Friday for another Healthy Mama hack.